Welcome to another episode of the Commute Me podcast, a conversational podcast exploring the stories, insights, and strategies behind learning centric communities. Our mission is to inspire listeners by highlighting individuals who are shaping the future of how people come together to learn, grow, and thrive. I'm honored today to welcome Daniel Chipres, founder of MyOasis, an AI powered mental health platform rooted in compassion, cultural fluency, and personal healing. From military service to spiritual reawakening, Daniel's path to creating MyOasis is grounded in lived experience. His story reminds us that technology solutions and the underpinnings they rest on can be sacred, intentional, and perhaps most importantly, human-centered. Daniel, it's awesome to have you on the show. How are you doing today, brother?
Alhamdulillah, man. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for you to have me here. Um, the way you edify people is amazing. I love it. I love it. I listened to a couple of your podcasts prior to hopping on here,
Yeah?
just to see how you operate, and I love edification. And I think edification is one of the most, if not the most important pieces when it comes to podcasts, and you're doing a good job at it.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that a lot, and it's a work in progress as I bring on more and more guests like you. I
Right.
grow with every experience, and this is all learning and fun for me as well. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So let's kick things off, man. I know that we got a chance to speak off the cuff a little bit earlier, and what I like to do with my guests is really there's a big part of the work that you're doing now which resonates with me personally, which is how do we develop mental health solutions, especially in the age of AI, with everything
Mm.
around us getting automated and losing the human touch. But before we get into all of that, I'd love for our listeners to hear a bit more about your background and kind of how you became the person you are today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good question. Honestly, um, there's so much that I want to introduce to people, but I do have an issue where I can just go into a banter and like not stop talking. So I had to like structure myself. So bear with me if I sound a little too quote unquote robotic.
You got it.
I grew up in a really large family. I'm the middle child of seven kids, right? My dad remarried when I was anywhere between 2 to 4 years old. So I grew up in a quote unquote broken household, right? And it forced me to move around a lot. So I went back and forth from parent to parent's house, and you know, I guess you can say I didn't live like a typical American dream type childhood where you grow up in one area and build like a lifelong friendship with those around you, right? Um, I lived a pretty unstructured life, I would say, right? But thankfully, I did find some structure through sports. I played soccer and football growing up, my first loves, right? And it helped me find what I was really good at and helped me find where I felt safe. And I think it's because of that structured environment, so I learned to love it. It gave me something consistent, right? But it wasn't until I left high school that I hit a small turning point in my life. I wasn't really planning on going to college like everybody else to study and to get out of it a really good job. My whole plan was just to go to college, play some football. That's really what my goal was, right? I loved football. That was, like I said, my first love. And because of my mindset of going into college playing football, I ended up taking a year out of school, like right after high school, to bulk up and prepare for the next football season. And in between that time, I was being forced to grow up, you know, uh, mainly because my mom was a hard ass on me. She didn't like seeing me home with like no clear direction, which is funny because I thought I was doing everything right, right? Because during that summer, before everything changed, I actually got into a Ty Lopez mentorship program. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's the guy who started off by saying, "Hey, I'm Ty Lopez. This is my garage," and you see like all his Lambos and stuff like that, all his books. It's really cool. But I got into one of his programs trying to make some, income online to try to embark into like this whole entrepreneur thing. But nothing ever really felt right at the time, right? Like I was searching, but I couldn't find anything that I was looking for. Um, so that's when my older brother suggested that I join the military. And once I started that process, I left pretty quickly. So here I am, a 17 to 18-year-old kid in the military, and it was crazy, man. It was a huge culture shock, a huge lifestyle change, but I loved it. My life in the military was actually really, really nice, right? They were able to give me structure, which is where I thrived, and I was able to work out almost every single day, which I loved. They paid me to work out, and it was amazing. I was a volunteer at a local church, which was one of my favorite things to do every weekend. I made a lot of cool friends, and at the time, I was a security professional or a security forces professional. So they had me on a gate for months on end, checking IDs and whatnot, which allowed me to literally meet so many different people and build different connections within our Air Force base. That later led me to get one of the highest clearances in the military to do executive security for the Secretary of Defense. That to me was crazy. Like that lifestyle was crazy because I was able to join the NAOC, which is essentially a National Airborne Operations Center. Um, it was a jet that allowed you to operate up in the air. So it's like if things went to shit here on land, we can operate the whole United States up in that air, which is awesome. Um, but here I am, 19 years old, one of the youngest person on the team, traveling the world with this amazing group of people. And I was getting paid well, but at the same time, I had so much freedom. I thrive in structure. So when I had this freedom, I didn't have that structure anymore, you know? So I kind of got unhinged, right? I would work 1 week and I'd be off for three. So within those 3 weeks, I would splurge all my money away. Farhan, I mean, like, I wasn't making a lot of money, but when the military pays your rent, they pay for your food. It's like it goes a long way. And at the time, I was spending all my time literally partying. My life was a party. I don't know if you know this show called Jersey Shore.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
That was my life in the military, man.
Oh man.
That was my life. But but yeah, that was my life for a long time, and it wasn't until things kind of went south to where, you know, I had some unfortunate events happen while I was in. I got into like this really, really dark period in my life while I was in the military, and I think it was just because of all the drugs and alcohol that I was taking while I was in, all the partying, all the different past traumas in my life came about, and it kind of led me to where I'm at now. You know? Yeah. Um, I hope that answered your question.
It
I
did,
could go a lot
absolutely.
deeper.
No, it does, Daniel. And I think one of the key things that I think a lot of us we all have moments in our past when we, in retrospect, we think back, oh man, those were decisions that I made that I really should not have made, all things considered, right?
Right.
We retrospect as human beings, we retrospect. But I think one of the most gratifyingly human emotions is to come to terms with the past and be able to use that as a springboard for the future, right?
Yep.
Not even the present. The present is too chaotic for most people, and I would consider myself in this category. Again, speaking for myself, the present is too chaotic for me to say the past is going to inform me right now
Hmm.
because there's too much going on right now, right? But just having that thought, just having that acknowledgement, yes, I've done things that maybe I shouldn't have, but I want to learn from them, but I want to change the way that I operate. Maybe not today, I'll try, but starting tomorrow or
Yep.
starting in one small step, I'm going to incrementally try to undo bad habits or bad connections or bad assumptions, bad learnings, whatever it is that I want to
Hmm.
change. We want to start doing that in an incremental way. So I think over the course of this conversation, we're going to get into how you turned things around for sure, right? But I want to spend a little bit of time learning a bit more about this concept of mental health. We hear it all the time. Okay, the airwaves are inundated with protect your mental health, guard your mental health, right? Don't be on the screens all day. Get out there, touch grass. Like I'm on Reddit a lot. I'm a self-proclaimed social media, not like I'm a pretty avid consumer of social media, right? Because I love
Yeah.
reading the news. I love reading, geopolitics, history, crazy stuff. I can't get myself sometimes to remove my. I can't get myself to step away from a lot of these things, and I think that has contributed to episodes where mental health became a concern for me, and I think many others, maybe in their own ways, have been struggling with that. So, how did your experiences eventually kind of get to this point where you thought, wow, mental health is where I should dedicate my attention.
Mm.
This is where I want to build something new for people that isn't out there right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good question. Um, First off, I'm the same exact way as you, man. Like I'm on social media all day long, just trying to learn as much as possible. And a lot of people say that social media is like really bad for you, you should stay away from it. I I think that's true, but to an extent. We have the capabilities of being able to create our own environment, and that starts with your social media, right? Because you have the power of putting things on your own phone. And if things are, unholy or things are super unhealthy and you're seeing it all day long on social media, it's just going to impact you in a negative way in real life. So it seems like you and I are on the same page in terms of like we tend to surround our social media with, like-minded information, right? Like I love AI, and in this new world of AI, I love the news that pops up every single day, and it seems like a new tool is popping up every single day. So I'm excited to see new things happen on my Instagram just pop up, right? So I'm glad we're on the same page. It also leads into personal development, I think, and because of everything that was happening to me while I was in the military, and the things that caused me to separate from the military with an honorable discharge. Right. I don't want people to think that I did something super horrific because I don't think I did anything super horrific, but I was going through some past traumas that I didn't know how to handle at that time, which caused me to, you know, get in trouble from doing some things and caused me to leave. And I ended up coming back home, and I just I just got into this weird mental space. But because of that mental space, it caused me to truly confront who I was and and my past traumas, right? So that's when I truly started to embark on this relentless journey of self-discovery and personal development, right? Just having that shift in my life, it changed everything, right? It was dark. It was a very dark period. But it really challenged me mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, which is also a big reason why I ended up reverting to Islam in 2019. Right here I am. Culturally, I'm Mexican, right? We have some European blood. You can see it. I mean, look, I'm white as day. Definitely have some, some type of Spanish in me. But what really gravitated towards my spiritual health was becoming Muslim because of, the community aspect of things and just what the Quran actually teaches you. And, it helped me become more spiritual. It helped me become more um, woke in that sense. But it also just helped me see things differently, right? It grounded me. It helped me begin my healing journey with real intention and real faith. So throughout that process, I realized that traditional therapy didn't always consider who I was, as a person of faith, as a person in my culture, and as a person in my spiritual values, right? The lack of cultural fluency, it left gaps, and I saw how many other people were experiencing the same things. So that's essentially what allowed me to come up with this idea, MyOasis. Right? It was born through my own needs. And it's a platform that combines my new love, which is AI, right? And my overall love, which is having a more cultural and religious understanding of things. Um, and at the end of the day, that the the goal is just to heal as many people as possible, right? And I know a lot of people are going through the same things that I went through. So if I can create something to build something to help them, that's where my mind is at right now.
There's a lot to unpack, Daniel, and I really commend you for sharing these experiences with somebody you recently met, me, right?
Yeah.
And with an audience that, hasn't necessarily perhaps heard of this story in the way that it's going to be heard now, right? So
Mhm.
it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of trust to be able to put that out there, put this type of information out to the world to serve as an inspiration, but also to be very raw and vulnerable. And yeah, this is what I went through, and this is what inspired me to now do this for other people. So I commend you for doing that. Lot to unpack in what you just shared, bro. So I'm going to try to take it a couple different steps. Uh,
Okay.
the first is the idea of really what I would consider a holistic approach to mental health, right? And
Right.
what I mean by that is I was I was encouraged to do therapy as a best practice. It for many of us, I think, we see therapy as a complement to our wellness suite. If you have health insurance or if you have access to services that are just readily available, right? I mean, I'm on YouTube like half the time I'm awake, and every other a lot of these folks that I follow, I really like their content. Every now and then they're going to introduce a therapy app or a wellness app as one of their sponsors, right? And it's intriguing. It appealed to me on several occasions. I think I actually went down and signed up for one of them. Didn't actually go through with becoming like a paid member for a while for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure why I did that, but what I mean to say here is it's not therapy and mental health as concepts are not foreign to the average person. I think over the last 15, 20 years, there's been a realignment in the wellness space towards prioritizing your mental health, right? The pandemic maybe had a lot to do with that as well. But I think what I'm hearing from you, and I would love you to kind of validate whether I'm hearing this correctly or not, is that the solutions that are out there are not nuanced to the lived experiences of many of us, right? They're cookie cutter, right? There's a certain templatized mental health framework, and instead of conforming to the individual, they have the individual try to conform to that framework, right?
Exactly.
Is that correct?
100%. 100%. I'm exactly like you, man, where I would try different tools out there and nothing really stuck to me, right?
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, look, I'm Mexican, but I'm also Muslim, right? It's like there's certain things that I go through mentally that not a lot of people can help, so it's very niche down.
yeah,
But that's not to say that other people aren't going through the same things. They might not be Mexican or Muslim, but at the end of the day, it's like everybody's mental health struggles are their own struggles, and it's all very different
mm,
than everybody else. So why try to fit people in a box? Like why?
yeah. It doesn't do
It
anybody. It does a disservice, if anything, right?
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
So my thought process is like, well, if it doesn't work for me, it's not going to work for other people, right? It may work for a handful of others, but you're going to see more failures than winners.
yep,
And in this health crisis, I like to call it, there's there's no room for error, right? Because what I think last year we had over 400,000 suicides.
yeah, yeah,
It- there's no room for error, and it's only getting worse. So for us, the important thing is we're not trying to fit you in a box. We're trying to build that box around you,
mm,
right? We're trying to fit something that's perfect for you, you know? Something that fits like a glove, exclusively built for you, your mental health needs, your spiritual needs, your cultural needs,
hmm,
right? And with the day of it, with the the days that we're in now with AI, we're able to do that. And I'm
yeah,
excited for it. I'm excited for a lot of people because sure there's a lot of, you know, taboo feelings towards AI. there's a lot of negative influences with AI. But I think if you give people the right tools, people that have the right mindset and the right intentions, they're able to create really cool things, and that's what we're trying to do here with Oasis.
I think it's a very novel concept. It's something, given that I'm not somebody who knows this space very well, I'm always
Yeah.
learning about it. That very much does appeal to me as somebody who has designed solutions to be human centric, right?
Hmm.
More in the learning domain because that's really where I've spent most of my career. But
Right.
the idea that you have to make whatever you're doing as an intervention, whether that's a learning experience, whether that's a mental health um, intervention, whether that's whatever it is that you want people to participate in, right? You want the experience and you want whatever you're designing, the product or the service, to meet them where they are, right? So many times I think we lose sight of that. We ask people to come to us like more than halfway of the way, right? And then when they're ready, we're ready to give them the service or product, right?
Hmm.
But we're too. It goes back to the idea that I mentioned earlier about the present moment is too chaotic. I think for
Hmm.
most of us, right?
Hmm.
We have to. If you want my time and my sanity and my attention in many ways, right? Because I fundamentally believe that we're living in an era that is unprecedented in human history when it comes
Right.
to how starved we are of attention. Like we neurologically can't focus on one thing for more than like a few seconds, maybe, right? You
Hmm.
read an email, you read somebody's resume, and it's like, I think the average, like a recruiter takes 7 seconds to go through a resume, probably because they're super overwhelmed. That's maybe another thing. And AI is also
Right.
totally upending that game, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is like, yeah, you get a notification, you get a ping, you're at the restaurant with your friends and you can't really focus because your phone's going off. There's just so many things that are occupying, contributing to mental cholesterol, as I like to call it, in the present, right? That we have to be so thoughtful about, again, understanding, okay, I'm going to do one thing differently today that's going to help me move the needle in that small way. And tomorrow I'm going to try to build that a little bit more, but maybe also do something else, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what that incremental improvement is fundamentally, I think, what leads to behavior change. But I want to click on something else that you mentioned, Daniel, which was, so I get the idea, the unique proposition, the unique element here of the Oasis experience is that it is built around you as the individual, right? And we're not going to try to force you into a box. But how do you confront some of the criticism that's out there with AI being too disconnected from, like, how do you create a human experience when it's an AI that's doing some of the heavy lifting, where AI is perceived to be so non-human and so robotic in some instances? I'd love for you to share some ideas there.
Um, yeah, I think a year ago that question was prominent and a lot of people didn't have the right answer to it, but now because of the new updates on AI and just amazing tools out there right now, it's like I guarantee you, Farhan, that you've probably scrolled through an AI influencer already on your Instagram. You haven't even noticed it. So
Probably the
to say
case.
that it's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So to say that it's robotic, I don't think we're in that world anymore.
Mm,
It's becoming extremely human-like, which is exactly the reason why AI, like I don't know if you've seen it, but there's new studies this year showing that the number one use case for AI right now is mental health. People
mm,
are going to it for therapy because they find it better to go. They find it better than an actual therapist,
wow,
which
that says a
it's
lot. That says a tremendous amount of the evolution of
right,
this technology, right?
right.
Yeah.
So I think we're slowly adapting to it,
Hmm.
and as it becomes better and better and better, we're not going to know the difference between whether it's an AI or a human, you know?
Does that scare you though a little
And
bit, Daniel? If you don't mind me asking, like, is there a fear factor in not being able to tell the difference?
sure, yeah, sure. I'm optimistic,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah,
It's scary, but it can also be exciting,
I think
right?
so too. I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
If done in the
Um,
right way, if the tool has the guardrails that
yeah.
any tool with this type of power and potential should have, right? I mean, think about it. We just touched on this earlier. There's no room for failure, right?
No.
And when we think about AI tools, at the end of the day, it's a tool. It's recognizing patterns. It's being fed data that is,
Hmm.
again, high quality, robust data. The models are improving every day, so at breakneck speed, just like you mentioned. Uh,
Yeah.
but there is, as with humans, there's always a potential for error. So we have to thoughtfully design these guardrails to ensure that the errors, if and when they do take place, don't take away from the human experience or take away from those outcomes that you're really focused on, right?
Right. But we also can't be scared of the errors, right? We have to go towards them head on
Mm,
and learn from them, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all human and we're going to make mistakes regardless of the fact, no matter
yeah.
what tools we have on our toolbox. But if we learn from them and we have, like I said earlier, the right mindset and the right intentions,
Hmm.
we can create some pretty cool things out here. Yeah.
I'd love to understand, Daniel, as you're, because I went to the website and I did a little bit of digging in terms of the platform. As a
Right.
as a tech nerd, as a platform geek, I'm always trying to see what's out there, what tools are different, how is a design element different. Um, what can you share with our audience about maybe what excites you the most? We've got some glimpses into how the technology is different, how it's built around the learner, or I keep saying learner as a learning guy, how it's built around the user, right?
Yeah.
But what more could you share that would be curious or interesting or inspirational for folks?
Yeah, I could share two different things. One, the the problems we're solving, as well as like how we're creating an ecosystem around those issues. And so to answer that question, we're solving two major problems for Han. The mental health space has so much going on with it, right? For one, therapists, they're going through this burnout phase right now where
Mm,
they're just being overwhelmed with demand for therapy, right? Um, there just isn't enough therapists out there for the overwhelming amount of people seeking therapy,
mm,
right? And on top of that, therapists are overworked, right? They're handling admin tasks, notes, compliance, and it's draining their energy. So at the same time, while that's happening, people are trying to seek their help. And if a therapist doesn't have the right tools or they're just overwhelmed, how are they supposed to help other people,
yeah.
right? Um, so what makes us different is that we're not just building another mental health app, right? We're actually building an actual ecosystem, like I said earlier. And we use AI to handle a lot of the back end chaos for therapists so they can do what they actually do best,
Hmm.
which is connect and care. And for users, or for patients, or for clients, whatever you want to call us, we've created an AI companion that supports them 24/7.
Mm,
And it's not just a chatbot, it's an actually personalized, culturally fluent, and spiritually inclusive companion, right? And a lot of people are scared that AI is going to replace human connection, but we're actually trying to just deepen that connection as much as possible using AI as an assistant, right? Um,
it's a
so now I
powerful
think a lot of
framework.
people,
Yeah, I was gonna say, go
yeah,
ahead, Daniel, please. Yeah, yeah.
so I think a lot of people now are going to ask, how are you doing this, right? Um, the real question is like, how do you balance both things? Because it's so easy to go into ChatGPT and go talk to it, and it'll be your therapist, right? Um, but our mission, which has been from day one, is that we're building different tools specifically for each side, right? But they all work together in a seamless flow. Here's an example. So for clients, we've got things like an AI companion, a journaling feature, mood tracking, and a therapy matching system. Okay. Keep in mind, the therapy matching system can only be unlocked once you actually build a report with the AI, allowing us to understand who you are so that way we can match you with the right person, right? That way, if you do get matched, there's a higher chance for you to stay with that person and not have to jump around with different therapists, right? So the AI is continuously learning that specific person and it builds a report and collects important contacts. So when somebody's ready to connect with a real therapist, if they choose to, some people might want to just stick with an AI, which is completely fine. But if they choose to, the handoff is just super smooth and intentional, right? Because now the therapist, they aren't going blind into that session. They already have a deep understanding of who you are as a person. They understand what you're going through. And in turn, they'll understand exactly what type of support you're going to need, right? That makes it so much easier for the client to open up, and it speeds up the healing process. And it also takes out a lot of the frustration and feeling that we tend to gather up when we don't understand what's going to happen next, right? When we feel misunderstood. Or I don't know if you've ever been to therapy, Farhan, but for me, I've been through 5 different therapists, and the first 3 sessions have always been the most difficult because who's this person? They don't know
Yeah.
who I am. I have to unload my life again towards them. And at the end of the day, are they even going to care? Right?
Mm.
Because most times they come at me with in the next session saying, "Oh, Daniel, how are you? How have you been?" And they ask me, "What do you want to talk about today?" Which is completely fine, but it just seems like they don't remember what I told them last, right?
Sure.
So we're building certain tools for therapists to be able to, leverage to be able to enhance the process for clients as well, which will negate a lot of that churn that they go through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's so much more into it, right? With all that information that we give the therapist, we create like the summary for them, right? We give them actionable steps based on the client's mental health,
Hmm.
cultural, and spiritual needs. The things that they can apply right away, right? And because the admin side is fully automated in the back end, right? All the notes, compliance, scheduling, all that is finished. It's done for them. Now the therapist can actually focus on their clients where they can take on more work without that burnout,
Yeah.
right? They can get their time back, their energy back, and the ability to help more people while simultaneously they increase their income,
Hmm.
right? So it's not just a tool, it's literally a whole system designed to make both sides feel supported, seen, and essentially just equipped to thrive.
Yeah. No, there's so many great features that you've intentionally, you and your team have intentionally designed into the
Yeah.
Oasis experience, which I think is critical. There's a lot of parallels in other industries that I'm sure folks can relate
Mhm.
with, but it's really unique that, you're not trying to remove the human from the equation at all. It's about the augmentation, right? The therapist, the individual who has so much mental cholesterol. I'm going to go back to that term that I used, right?
I love that
balance
term.
balancing all these different things, right? and and just to be an effective therapist, I mean, I think about, I'm not a therapist by any means, but I really enjoy speaking to people, and the way that I collect my thoughts whenever I meet somebody new or whenever I have a meeting is I have in my CRM, I literally just have a record, the notes, and I just note down, okay, Daniel told me XYZ. Daniel told me his family is originally from
Right.
Colima, Mexico, for example, right? Which we
Yeah.
were just chatting about before we started this podcast, right? So that's going to now go into my CRM. So next time we chat, that it's going to be there. But if I were to magnify that by like 1,000, right? And now I'm dealing with somebody who's coming to me because I am their provider. I'm providing care. I want to be super tuned in to what they're sharing. I want to be able to
Right.
listen actively, suggest empathetically, right? And just do all those other things that as a human being, it's taxing. Even if you don't have all the admin stuff going on, all the other back end
Mhm.
stuff that you need to work on, just being a listener and being a confidant and being in somebody's corner, which these are the things that I associate with being a therapist, just those fundamental tasks, I should say, are so taxing, right?
Right.
So remove everything else from the equation, but at the same time, provide an experience and provide those opportunities to the actual person seeking care, where if they are more comfortable with the AI agent, they stay with the AI experience, as opposed to if they want to maybe mix and match, do both, right? So the fact that you're putting the power, you're addressing both sides of the equation, and also giving so much flexibility in a very inclusive way is, I think, very novel. So something that I personally haven't heard of before, right?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. I want to take it one step further, Daniel, and I want to ask you, let's, if we were to draw the arc of your journey, right? So we began by talking about kind of the experiences you had as a young adult, as somebody in the military, all these other experiences that you had since then, which really helped you coalesce around this idea of mental health being your passion. Now you're an entrepreneur, you're launching this application. Uh, what is, if you could look at this arc of your career and your journey, what is one major thing that you learned over the course of your life? One takeaway.
Um, I learned this through our religion, through our Muslim religion, where we don't do things for the world, we do things for the sake of God. And if you look at it in a more micro perspective, we don't, the things that I'm doing right now, I try to give my all to God, but in a more micro perspective, because I am building this concept or this company, my life doesn't revolve around me anymore. So what my life has taught me is that in order to get what you want, you have to be selfless and um and yeah, my life doesn't revolve around me anymore. It revolves around everybody else.
Mm,
And the true meaning of being fulfilled is to do things for other people, help other people, right? So that's where I'm at right now. That's where I feel like everything the collections of things that I've gone through in my life. I don't want to call them issues because I don't think they're issues. They're just learning points,
mm-hmm.
right? But the experiences that I went through, it's all led me to where I'm at now,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, spiritually. And right now, at my most vulnerable state, I would say that I'm nobody.
Mm.
I'm just here to serve. I'm here to give to other people. And as much as I can give is really all I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To give, to nurture, and fundamentally to heal, right?
Yep.
Because that's the other takeaway, that something that really resonated with me earlier in this episode was the
Hmm.
idea of we just want people to heal. Whatever it is, all these pathways, all these, the technology, the workflow optimization, the UI, UX, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What's the end goal? People should be able to heal. People should be able to be in a better place in their own skin.
Hmm.
Be better people in their communities, for their families, for their loved ones, right? If
Hmm.
that's not the ultimate goal that serves a higher purpose, what is,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's a very, very powerful, Daniel. Um, Almost everybody I bring on the show, in one way or another, they're doing amazing things that they're really trailblazing within their communities and within their societies.
Yeah.
So I can absolutely imagine, just because the people that are in my network, there are going to be people in my network that are going to listen to this podcast who will have many things in common with you, Daniel,
Mm.
right? Either their heritage, their religion, their upbringing, military experience, whatever it might be. What advice would you give to somebody who is in that position where they recognize that there's a problem, nobody's solving it, and they're hesitating to actually take that leap, right? You went out and you built something to fix the problem that you saw. But many people are in that position where they're hesitating. They're not exactly sure how to make that leap. What advice would you give somebody who has that heart centeredness, but they're hesitating and they just don't know how to make that leap?
That's a good question. Um, there's so many things I want to say, but I also have to remind myself to come at it in a more empathetical way because sometimes I can be a hard ass, just like my mama, you know?
My parents
And
were
I
hard asses
can,
too, man. Don't worry about
oh,
it.
I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's easy for me to say, stop being a bee,
Sure,
just do it.
sure.
But at the same time, it's like there's so much more to unpack.
Yeah,
What are the reasons why you're being held back? You know,
sure, sure.
is it a personal issue,
Yeah.
right? it's more so it's like how can you self-reflect? And if
Mm,
you're scared to do something, there's a deeper reason why you're scared, right?
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it because you care about other people and what they care and what they think about you?
Mm,
Maybe. That's what the majority of people think. Like majority of people don't do things because of other people's opinions, which is really sad. I could
mm,
care less about what others think of me.
mm,
But at the same time, it's like I understand. I've been there before, but it took me some work to get to where I'm at mentally.
yeah.
Um, so I would say don't be afraid to dive deep into who you are. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to get spiritually connected with yourself. Um, there's someone I followed for a very long time. His name is Jim Rohn. Have you heard of him before?
I have not actually.
Jim Rohn was a Christian influencer, actually. Amazing dude. Never met him before, but just the things he taught were was amazing, right? He tried to combine spirituality with business, and he did a really good job at doing it.
Mm.
He was introduced to the marketplace when Herbalife came about. I'm sure you've heard of Herbalife
Yes,
before.
I have heard of
All right.
Herbalife. Yeah. Yeah.
5 years in, they were in the brinks of bankruptcy. They were
Mm,
about to fail. And the CEO thought about some amazing plan, thinking, it's like, hey, if I can bring in someone to teach personal development to our sales team, we'll see if that can change the game. And he brought in Jim Rohn and he started to implement personal development into the world. And one thing he taught, or one thing that I remember every single day is he said, if you want to get to the point where you want to get to in life, you have to look at your health, right? And he talks about how health is not just physical. And the majority of people look at it as physical, right? But he talks about health being like an onion and how there's multiple different layers within that onion, right? You have that external layer, which is your physical health. But if you peel it back, what's next? You have more of your soul or your mental health, essentially, right? But if you peel that back, you keep going, you get to the core of the onion, what's holding it all together? He talks about spiritual health, right? Your faith, your beliefs, your belief system, right? It's the number one thing that moves anything and everyone. And he talks about in order to strengthen your core, you got to strengthen your spiritual system, your faith. So if you want to get to the right place, you want to have the best physique ever, you want to have the most amazing mindset, you have to get connected with your faith. Build that connection with your higher power, and everything else will just fall in line. So to answer your question, Farhan, I would say get connected to your higher power. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
that'll fix your mind. And once your mind is fixed, your body will follow.
One of the things that it hits on so many levels, Daniel, and I wish we could have kept this podcast going for another hour, which no one's stopping us from doing that, by the way. I mean, I can call the shots on that, but I think from a consistency standpoint and from
Right.
a keeping people engaged standpoint, we've hit on so many notes that I think are incredibly important, right? I personally, even though I haven't done this, I like to journal, right? I like to jot down a quick reflections in the flow of my day,
Good.
right?
I love that.
Something that made me, what was my high today? What was my low today? Right?
Mm,
I had a conversation with somebody yesterday that I didn't think was going to go the way that it did. And I was introspecting afterwards, and I thought to myself, maybe I could have done XYZ better. But what that kind of cathartic experience of putting my thoughts down on paper helps me do is if I were to come back to that in a few weeks, I know exactly what was bothering me that day because I captured it in the moment, right? It was when it was fresh in my mind. I captured
yeah.
it. I noted it. I had an emotional connection to those words that I wrote when I felt the way that I felt,
Yeah.
right? So if that helps our audience members or anybody else that's listening, that has helped me come to terms with my own myopia, my own self-imposed. I mean, we all forget, the forgetting curve. But I want to go back and I want to be able to revisit what made
Mm.
me happy, what made me not happy. How can I improve? And really it's about those incremental things. And journaling has really been super helpful for me in that regard. I don't do it every day, but when I do it, it is very
Right.
helpful. Yeah.
I love that you said that, Farhan. I really do because and we are going towards the end of the episode, so
Take your time, man. There's no rush. We can make this one the longest one so far.
all right, cool.
Yeah.
No, I love what you said because journaling is one of the biggest things that people do. I mean, here, let me
Yeah.
show you something. I have my journal here.
Oh, fantastic.
Over the last decade, I've probably gone through maybe 15 of these things.
Wow.
Because journaling for me has been a massive thing. It's just allowed me to align my thoughts properly. And me growing up in a certain environment, I also grew up with a really bad stutter,
Mhm.
but reading and journaling has helped me overcome that stutter, right? I still get it every once in a while, and I wish I could be a little bit more fluid with my speech, but it, at the end of the day, I give journaling a lot of power, and that's actually the first feature that we are rolling out for
Oh, no
MyOasis
way.
is a journal feature, and it's AI powered journal feature, and we're excited for it because we're about to roll it out here the next couple days, and it's hilarious you say that because you said you go back to it and
Mhm.
you allow yourself to kind of like analyze your thoughts,
Yeah.
right? Which is essentially what we're building. We're building a tool that you can go in there and jot down your thoughts, whatever it is that you want to talk about, right? Or write down. But we kind of give you more of a step further, where
Mhm.
we have capabilities where we analyze it with artificial intelligence. Now, this AI, it's built with a therapeutic, a cultural, and a spiritual backing,
Mhm.
meaning that we have certain research that has been done in the past, right? For example, like any therapeutic research, anything that will help you, we have it already in the database. So that way, whenever we analyze your thoughts or you want to wish to analyze your thoughts on a specific day, specific week, specific month, we actually have research backed AI that can go in there and analyze your thoughts based off of what you're going through. And it can give you actionable steps. It can give you anything specific that you want it to give,
Mhm.
right? But my favorite part of it is that it actually tracks your mood and it tracks your mindset. It tracks where you're at when you first start to when maybe like a month down the line. It'll tell you your growth and it'll show you, you know? Um, which is exciting because this is our first product that we're going to be launching through MyOasis, and we already have a handful of people interested in it, and I'm excited for it, man. I'd love for you to try it out because
Of
it seems
course.
like it'll help you out based off of what you just told me.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also a tool for therapists as well because now the therapist can actually provide that tool for their users or for their clients, and they can start to build that connection that we talked about earlier, right?
Absolutely. No, I'm
Yeah.
so excited to see where this goes. And again,
Hmm.
we found each other at this kind of inflection point of my Oasis.
Yeah.
Is how can people find out more about? We're going to include all these in the show notes, but let's say
Yeah.
somebody wants to get in touch with you. Obviously, we'll learn more about the app. What are the best ways to do that?
Um, Hit me up on Instagram. I am extremely active on IG. Right? You
Okay.
can find me at elprofesor.ai. That's my tag. Um, my first name is Daniel, last name is Chipres. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also active on there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
That's awesome, man. I love that IG tag, elprofesor.ai. Sounds
I
amazing, right? And it's
appreciate it.
it's it's something we are all working towards being in our own ways. I think we're all looking to see how can AI not only supplement the work that we do day to day, but also the how we build our relationships, how we learn better, how we heal, right? These are all
Hmm.
components that AI is going to be touching all of these domains and literally at breakneck speed, like we were saying. What's out today is going to be outdated by this time next month
Yeah,
potentially, right?
yeah,
So we have to be forward thinking and also resilient when it comes to being able to apply these tools in
yeah.
our day to day. Daniel, it was a genuine pleasure to connect with you and speak about all the great things that you're doing. I would very highly suspect this is not going to be the last time we're going to chat, but it was awesome to have you on this episode, man.
Yeah, 100%, man. I'm excited for what we're doing. I'm excited for you as well. For the ones listening right now, if you guys don't know, Farhan is completely fluent in Spanish. It blew my mind. We had a whole conversation in Spanish earlier. It was amazing. But yeah, Farhan, we gotta hit up all parts of Mexico soon, inshallah. We
Inshallah, we'll absolutely do
gotta
that,
have some
bro. I
fun out
cannot wait, man. I
there.
cannot wait. What a great note to
Uh,
end on, bro. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Muchas
of
gracias por
course.
venir. Yeah, yeah,
Muchas gracias por tenerme aquí.
por
Estoy bien
supuesto.
orgulloso de ti
Muchas
y
gracias. Es un placer,
ah,
hermano.
igualmente.
Ok. Hasta muy pronto.
Ujú. Adiós. Te
Adiós.
cuidas.